Hey everybody, it's Johnny Bowden. Today I want to take on a question that has come up more frequently in the last 2 or 3 weeks than I think in the last 6 months. And it's the question of how do I get better sleep? Now, this could have been a question that a lot of people have had for many, many months and years even. I've certainly gotten it many times before this, but it seems to be really concentrated in this period, and I suspect a lot of it has to do with COVID, and there are reasons for that, and we'll get into it in a minute. But I actually think that COVID has illuminated problems, shined a harsh flashlight on problems in every area of our society and our lifestyle. These problems weren't created by COVID, but COVID shined that flashlight and made us aware of them. And I believe sleep is one of them. Yes, the anxiety and the stress and the uncertainty and the disorientation has certainly made it harder to sleep well, soundly, and restfully. But it didn't create sleep problems. We've had those going back quite a while. And so I think this is actually a perfect time to address it because everybody's feeling it now. It might have been there before, but maybe you didn't pay as much attention to it. Now it is crying out for attention. And if you will indulge me, before I tell you what I think the best ways to get better sleep and to really change your relationship with sleep so that it's really the healthful activity that it was meant to be, I think we first have to talk about why it's important. And the reason I want to do that is because some of what I'm going to tell you to get better sleep, to solve the sleep riddle, to solve the sleep problem many of you are experiencing, some of what I'm going to tell you is going to be a little uncomfortable, and it's going to require a little bit of a readjustment and a reorientation to your relationship to sleep. Just as when we do metabolic improvements or weight loss or any kind of thing that changes your metabolism for the better, it requires a readjustment in your relationship to food. Well, this is going to require a readjustment in your relationship to sleep, and I want to give you ample reason to be motivated to do that. So for many years, I've talked to you guys about something I call the factory specified diet. When we talk about weight loss, when we talk about metabolism, I always say, what was the factory specified diet for the human genus? And for 2.4 million years, even before Homo sapiens came out of Africa about 110,000 years ago, every member of the human genus ate from 4 basic groups. Foods you could hunt, fish, gather, or pluck. That's the factory specified diet. And that's what we try to go back to when we do paleo or keto or any of these diets that kind of mimic the errors of non-processed foods. Okay, so everybody gets that concept. Now, there's also a factory specified sleep pattern. And that too is in our nature, in our DNA. And what it basically is a respect for what we call circadian rhythms. Circadian rhythms are the rhythms, the biorhythms. Circa means around, and diem means day. So circadian rhythms are around the day. These biorhythms occur basically 24 to 25 hours at a period, which conveniently kind of more or less rounds off to a day at a time. And they're very important to respect. And the major regulators of circadian rhythms have always been light and dark. You go to sleep when it's dark, and you wake up when it's light. You don't really have much choice. And that was the really factory programmed way that the human genus got the amount of sleep that it needed to get in order to do all the amazing things that happen during sleep. Well, that all went out. And around the 20th century, the invention of electricity, we were done. Now we have no more dependence on light and dark for those circadian rhythms. We have electricity, we have computer lights, we have 24-hour buffets and 7-Elevens. There's no night and day except for what we agree that it is. And so that regulation has kind of gone away. Now, why does this matter so much? Why does it matter that we stay within that pattern and that we try to replicate that pattern of good, restful sleep? Because all kinds of stuff happens when you sleep. Neurochemicals are made. Hormones are made. Everybody hears about growth hormone, and they go to clinics where they spend lots of money to get human growth hormone. Well, you make human growth hormone, but you only make it during REM sleep. So the depth of your sleep, the length of your sleep, the uninterruptedness, the restfulness of your sleep, the efficiency of your sleep, these things matter enormously. There are studies showing that undersleeping by even a couple of hours, 2-3 hours a day, results in more anger, more stress, more mental exhaustion. They can get people into a pre-diabetic state metabolically by preventing them from sleeping only a few hours a day. That's how serious that is. Completely changes your metabolism. Now, have I convinced you how important this is? I'll give you also a very quick moment about my own experience with this. I thought I was sleeping great until I got sleep monitoring software. And I won't go into what the software does, but it definitely shows you whether you're sleeping well or not. It tells you the stages that you're in, and it tells you the efficiency and the latency. And man, I was not sleeping in a healthful way. And getting that feedback helped me to change my own patterns. And I'm going to tell you some of the things that I did and some of the things that have been found to work. So I want to read you this one quote, which is, "When our sleep patterns differ wildly from what we were genetically programmed for, countless systems, metabolic, hormonal, break down, and systemic aging accelerates." So, what can we do? Now that you're convinced of how important it is for your health, your mental health, your stress levels, your metabolism, your performance, what do we do? Well, the first thing you have to do is realize that we've been treating sleep like another activity in the day. In other words, it's something we got to get to. So, you run to your doctor's appointment, you have the doctor's appointment, you go to the conference, you have the conference, you get on the call, you do the call, you go to sleep, it's time to sleep. No. That would be like a tennis player going out onto the court and playing a major match without even warming up. You have to look at sleep as an activity that requires preparation. And because most of us don't do the preparation, most of us have crummy night's sleep. So here's what you need to do. For one thing, you need to wake up at the same time every day. That has been shown to be one of the best ways to regulate sleep. Now you might say, yeah, I wake up at the same time every day. How do I get more sleep? Good question. You get it by adding it on when you go to bed. That's where you add the hours. And you generally do it effectively. To do it effectively, you add a half an hour on every day or two until you get to the requisite number that you need. And it's probably more than you think it is. I thought I functioned great on 6 hours sleep. I did not, and I had the metabolic charts to prove what was happening in my body. And it wasn't as healthful as it is now that I've added on another hour and a half of sleep. So you're probably, if you're one of those people, I get by on 5 hours, you've trained your body to do it just like I did, but it ain't doing you any good. And there will be payment due at some point in the life cycle. So you want to get that right now. So go to bed a half an hour earlier until you can add on the amount of time that you need. You don't want to do it by sleeping in. It just doesn't work metabolically. You want to skip the nightcap. That's number 2, and it's number 2 with a bullet. Everybody thinks, oh, alcohol, I sleep better. No, alcohol is a central nervous depressant, and it gets you to sleep really deeply for the first hour and a half to 2 hours. And then you wake up, and your cortisol level is high, and you're wide awake, and you're a mess, metabolically and every other way. Alcohol is a big no-no before bed. If you're having sleeping problems, that may be the source of it. And the other side of that is nicotine, which if anyone listening to this still needs another reason to quit smoking, it is one of the top sleep disruptors in the world. Okay. I'm a big fan of rituals, and I'm a big fan of rituals in life and in preparing for sleep as well. And this is, I'm going to give you a couple of the things that I would do and that have been found to be effective. A warm bath. Listening to soothing music. There are some programs on either YouTube or Spotify, any of them, Apple Music, music for sleep. If you play around with them and you find one that is really soothing, just turn it up to where you can barely hear it, leave it on, and see what happens. This one is a hard one for most people, and it is essential. You must turn the TV off. I told you this was not going to be easy. But I fall asleep with it. I know, don't. But it soothes me. No, it doesn't. What it does is it gets into your subconscious so that you hear the infomercials at 3 in the morning playing over and over, and you start to have dreams about thigh masters, and this is not what you need to be sleeping to. So you got to make the break. Do it cold turkey. Turn the television off. Get into bed a half an hour earlier. And before you do, turn off the electronic media. You are not going to sleep well if you're reading the news or listening to the news right before bed. Just ain't going to happen. And trust me, people, these are hard habits to break. I tell people they got to turn the TV off in the bedroom. It's a big one. But the bedroom should be for 2 activities only: sleep and getting lucky. Seriously, it's not an office. You're not Hugh Hefner. You don't need everything spread out. You need to make that a real activity of the day that you take seriously and that you prepare for. The next thing, set the temperature at the right temperature. 68 degrees, 69. That's the sweet spot for restful sleep. And although this might not be the time to recommend a big purchase, the fact is that the mattress makes an enormous difference, and most people don't even think about it, and they don't change it for 10 or 15 years. And now there are all kinds of mattresses that favor hot sleepers versus cool sleepers and get you in the right position. These things can make a huge difference when it's time and you feel like you want to invest some money in something that will really give you health benefits. A new mattress might be just the key. And finally, you gotta make the room dark. And by dark, I mean there can't even be the flashing LED light on your DVR. There can be nothing. There have been studies that support this where it was just the flashing light on the DVR or the VHS in the years before that, and just that alone would actually make a measurable difference in the subject's sleep. Dark room, pitch black. Cool room, tranquil environment that you create. That's your preparation. And you've got to take that preparation seriously as stretching before exercise or any other preparatory activity that you do. You don't walk in to college and take a test. You study for it. You prepare for it. There's preparation involved in every meeting that you have. If you're doing them well, right? If you're getting stuff done, you do some prep time. You have to honor this as a very basic need of the human body for health, for mental health, for physical health, for every kind of health, for immune system health. And when you take it seriously like that and you actually change your relationship to those hours, they're not just hours when you're not doing stuff, there's stuff when your body is doing incredibly important stuff. And when you acknowledge that and understand it, you take sleep a lot more seriously. It's not just an inconvenience that you're not sleeping well. It's something of huge metabolic and immune system consequences. So take sleep seriously. I want to read you one more quote, which is, sleep is the ultimate anti-aging strategy. It's totally necessary for a healthy mind, a healthy spirit, a healthy body, and a healthy immunity. This is Johnny Bowden, and I will see you on the next video.